Happy first day of August, Cardfighters. I'm super excited to get your month going with a new deck profile featuring one of my favorite Brandt-Gate decks recently, which is Glanzel Rotovisor. This deck is one of the newest decks to come out of the set 2, Illusionless Strife, being a Brandt-Gate focused deck that brings back the reminiscent style of Season 1 Nova Grapplers. Glanzel Rotovisor is a tempo-based deck that uses advantage of his very powerful set order, giving you a fantastic resource management skill to let you do all these unique plays that other decks couldn't do, as well as giving your opponent something to fear every single time you attack. This on-hit pressure this deck maintains, as well as the accumulating late-game power, really does encapsulate not only the Brandt-Gate playstyle, but like I stated earlier, gives you that old feeling it was like to play Nova Grapplers back in Season 1. But with all this new support out as well as this new deck, I've had the opportunity these past months to really break down, try a bunch of different things, and I'm ready to showcase you guys my current build on it. Now, Festival Collection very recently just came out and it's been out for about the past week and a half now since I'm making this video, or two, not entirely sure. But I have the opportunity to try out different cards, and if I make any changes to that, I'll showcase you guys my build later. But this is what I've been playing since the introduction of this deck back in June, past July, and now going into August. I'll be showcasing you guys my deck profile on camera too, as well as a new segment in my deck profiles featuring both combos and Mulligan. I used to do separate videos for deck profiles, but now I'm going to put it all together, as this is something you guys have been asking me for, and I want you guys to have a better understanding of this deck after watching this video. And with that being said, I won't stall anymore and we're just gonna hop right into it. Just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell when you guys are done watching the videos so you guys can see all my newest content coming out. Okay, you guys, so we get started off with Rotovisor comes with his own ride line for, well, Rotovisor. Now, this new archetype is very specific about finding our arena set orders. These orders are a key card to our grade 3 playstyle, and our grade 1 and grade 2 naturally search out for that. The grade 1 of Road Rotovisor has the ability where you can search your deck out for a copy of an arena and add it to your hand when rode upon by the grade 2 Rotovisor, and the grade 2 Rotovisor is actually pretty fantastic. This card lets you check top 7 for a copy of the grade 3 to get your Persona ride for your turn 4, an arena if you see one, and if you whiff, instead of just cards not doing anything, it actually will go onto the rear guard circle, giving you a body to work with. This ride line doesn't cost anything and it fits our playstyle, and our deck's playstyle is extremely linear. You want to set up those arena cards as soon as possible, which we'll discuss later, to get the full advantage of your Vanguard's effect come turn 4 and later. Next up, 3 copies of the hero of this story, which is Glanzel Rotovisor. Now, Glanzel Rotovisor has 2 powerful Vanguard effects which read as following. He states, continuous Vanguard circle during your turn. If your order zone has 3 or more arenas, all of your front row units get power plus 5,000. Auto Vanguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked, cost counterblast 2. Draw a card. Choose the same number of your rear guards as the number of arenas in your order zone and stand them. If you chose 3 or more rear guards, all of the chosen rear guards get power plus 5,000 until the end of turn. Now, Glanzel Rotovisor's effect is extremely powerful and simple. While the cost counterblast 2 might be scary, it'll make a lot more sense when we get to the arenas. Discussing the first ability, the continuous 5,000 power to the front row for the 3 arenas is an extremely huge buff. Our Vanguard has the ability to restand our rear guards, and giving them a consistent 5k power buff will help us beat out triggers, other defensive options our opponent might employ against us. It helps maintain higher numbers. Since this deck does pop off on turn 4, as you will not be able to get your 3rd arena until turn 4 because the arena is a grade 2 card that we have as right now. Once turn 4 hits, you must focus prior on all offense, and everything before that has to be on building up your resources. The Vanguard has a draw effect as well as a power up effect once you restand those 3 units. Therefore, you need to invest your time and energy in building up your resources, maintaining good numbers, making sure your board is set up to get Glanzel Rotovisor active. This card's biggest weakness is that unfortunately it's not at its peak when you have 2 arenas set up. I really do wish that was the case. I feel like 3 is a bit much, unless in the future we get an arena that's a grade 1 card that will be able to set up easier or something. That might be a benefit, or a card that puts an arena in the order zone without us having to play it from hand every single turn. But nonetheless, Glanzel Rotovisor's explosive play style, multiple attacks as well as big power, makes him a fantastic and fun Vanguard to play in this current format of Standard. Now, you're going to hear me discuss these arenas a lot, so let's talk about it now. Our only arena that we have at this moment is Nova Grappler Arena Urban City. This is a brand new set order that came out with this deck and is the basis of the entire playstyle, and it has the following effect. It states Auto Order Zone. When your unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Rotovisor in its card name, and another arena in your order zone was not rested this battle, cost rest this card. Choose a unit that attacked and it gets auto Vanguard / rearguard circle when this unit attack hits counter charge 1 or energy charge 2 until the end of that battle. This set order is a fantastic order for this deck. Because our Vanguard's cost is really high, you're going to need consistent resource management to maintain your counterblast as well as your energy. Energy is a resource that we do use in this deck for multiple cards, so you will be using the energy charge effect a lot as well. Setting up multiple of these, it grants all of the attacks that you'll be doing with Rotovisor's restand or even in the early game to help get your resources back. You're going to set up multiple of these, and then when your unit attacks, you rest one and leave one standing. It can only happen one per attack, but this will apply pressure to all of your attacks as your opponent's not going to want you to keep accumulating resources. Now every attack actually has some weight to it because energy charging 2 or counter charging 1 in the early game with a deck like this is a big deal. It gives you the freedom to play other cards and adds some weight to all of the attacks that you'll be doing because your opponent now has the option of denying you that resource by taking more cards out their hand to block your attacks. It's a fantastic resource management piece that we get to play every single turn because it is a set order. Once we set up multiple of these, we'll get to a point where 3 of our attacks will have this effect and we'll be able to dictate how we maintain our resources better, and we'll have other cards that do that for us as well. For my next card, I play 4 copies of Abend's Robust. Abend Robust is a fantastic Brandt-Gate beatstick piece. This unit has an on-play search effect, and as you know, it's important for us to get our 3 arenas minimum, and a secondary skill that makes it incredible for offense. Being able to gain additional 10,000 power when you have 2 copies of the exact same set order, which we'll always have because of how the deck operates, means that on multi-attacks, this card will become a 23k attacker 2 times. That's a really big number and demands 15k shield going first, and then always makes a magic number even when you go second against your opponent. The on-search effect is important as this is another card that can directly get us an arena to our hand to help increase our chances of having the perfect setup for Glanzel Rotovisor on turn 4. For my next card, I play 4 copies of Compassionate Mechanic, a Rotovisor specific support piece. This unit has the ability to gain 5,000 power if you have 2 arenas in your order zone. And its secondary skill is what makes it great, because at the end of the battle that she attacks, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and an arena in your order zone was rested this battle, you Energy Blast 3, draw a card, and choose one of your other units and it gets 5,000 power until the end of the turn. Compassion Mechanic being essentially a free beatstick as well as piece that boosts our card advantage is incredible. We'll have different opportunities to use this card, and getting additional 5k power to other units is a big deal, as well as manipulating power during the battle phase is the best time to do so because it affects the way your opponent defends. Applying that 5,000 power that's a permanent benefit until the end of the turn is also important because Rotovisor will restand other units, and we can restand the booster for her or her other rear guard that might be attacking for the 5 attack restand. The 5k buff is fantastic as well, as she'll easily be able to hit a magic number when you go first against your opponent, not allowing them to guard with 5k. That demands more shield out of their hand and increases their chances of having to either choose to take the attack that might be benefited off the arena, or just having to use more cards to, guard against this with a higher value. It is a key support in the offense. I've seen other people play less than 4. I'm not sure how I feel about that because this is one of the free cards you have in your deck because of how the deck operates with the arena resource management, as well as getting 3 energy per turn that allows you to get some draw and power, and she's a good number on her own, especially when you go first. And I think that it's really important to have access to these pieces that make your first grade 3 turn feel powerful, because this deck doesn't really pop off until you go up to your turn 4 plus. And that's why I think Compassionate Mechanic needs to be a 4-up staple in the deck. I don't think less than 4 is okay. I think you really need that extra draw and something to do on your first grade 3 turn, because up until you get to that point, until you're at turn 4 higher, it's not going to be much fun. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle because you got to build those resources, hold on to those pieces, and do what you have to do to set up for Glanzel Rotovisor on turn 4 up for the perfect turn. For my next card, I play 4 copies of Sickle Blade of Inquest Havable Zone. This card is the Brandt-Gate Ride Cycler. It does play an important role in this deck. Being able to search your deck out for another copy of your arenas, especially at turn 4, is extremely important. This deck has to have 3 arenas set up on turn 4, otherwise your entire strategy goes kaput. So outside of being a late game searcher, this card is our Ride Cycler that helps keep our hand up in the early game, make sure that we're able to have the piece to defend ourselves, as well as compresses our deck for our key piece later in the game. And because I play Havable Zone, I do play 1 copy of Refablishment Dock. This is a set order that on place lets you draw a card. You get to have this card apply a boost effect to all of your grade 2 units. Now, I do believe that if you play Havable Zone and you have an open slot, you should play this. Havable Zone will turn this card into free because it denies the counterblast cost of it. All of our set orders are free anyway. The arenas don't have a cost, they just require Rotovisor Vanguard, and sometimes you want to make sure that you can make the best possible board out of what you have, and I think that this card is perfectly great for that. You know, turning all of our grade 2s into boosters, the Havable Zone can become one. If I want bigger numbers, I can put Compassionate in the back and call Advent Robust to the front. It gives you different options for different styles of play. For my next card, I am playing 2 copies of White Jeweled Beast Synthetica. Now, in this deck, we don't care about soul. That's why we play Havable Zone and Synthetica. It's extremely important to get those arenas. I know I keep saying that, but it's a huge cornerstone of this deck's playstyle. You need to have multiple arenas ready to go at any time, period. And if we're ever at a point in the game where we have one in the drop zone, then we can call this card out and get it for us. While Rotovisor does have a card that does the exact same thing, but it also gets you an arena out of your damage zone, I just think this card is better. The defensive effect is more important as well because it does come up sometimes, as well as the fact that unlike that card, this card does not make you discard a card from your hand, so it's not a trade-off, it's just an on place like play this. It's not a -1. You get an extra defensive unit that has an ability to get one of your set orders out from your drop zone, using up your ride cards that are in the soul that you don't care about. For my next card, I play 4 copies of Detonation Monster Blob Mine. Now, for the main point of this card, this is our other resource management piece in this deck. While we have access to the arena to give us an on-hit resource management, I have been in games where I was reliant on the on-hit to get me the counter charge needed to activate my Vanguard's ability, and I do play other cards and effects that cost counterblast, and I think it's really important to have a way of guaranteeing you that resource without being reliant on the order. Because having an on-hit effect be your key way of getting resource management, your opponent has the opportunity to deny you of that. You can swing into rear guards and get the skill off, but at that point you're wasting an attack. Why not just play Blob Mine and guarantee that I have soul for my other card effects, as well as counterblast for my, main card effect, which is Glanzel Rotovisor's CB2. My next card is 4 copies of Blitz Chaser Lin. Now, Blitz Chaser Lin, you don't see the effect on here, but it's very simple. This card states, auto, when this unit boosts, if it's a 3rd attack or more, counterblast 1, energy blast 2, draw a card, and this unit gets power plus 5,000. To be honest, this card is for fun right now. I've been experimenting with a couple of other cards. Ball Dread was cool. That is the new grade 1 that has recently came out that gains plus 5,000 power when you have 2 set orders, and then you get to move into the soul and check your deck for top 2. That card was fine. I also played Lord Ozkut. That's the Dragon Tree Wretch that has the ability to check top 5. That card is fine too. However, the reason why I've chosen to play this card is because Rotovisor needs you to have units onto the board, and this card stays on the board, whereas Al-Kizuth is only good when you set an order, and then the grade 1 Ball Dread takes itself off to the board and do a top 5 check. Those cards are fine. They're not bad whatsoever. I just personally like this because this card stays on the board. You can use it in the early game if you're, trying to rush your opponent back, and it actually gives you a better benefit than the other 2 cards do, in my opinion. You can play this card with anything else. I don't think Lord Al-Kizuth is bad. I don't think Ball Dread is bad. Those cards are fantastic. I just simply chose this because right now it's been fun to play. It's an early game piece you can drop off. You can also play other options as well, like I stated that. But this card has just been a fun way of getting power as well as drawing your hand consistently to maintain all the card advantage you are losing from those cards. Next up, I play 4 Sentinels. Make sure one of them is Elementaria. Now, for triggers, my trigger lineup has been very experimental lately, but I'm playing right now 4 effect crits for the prison matchups, and then I'm playing 4 generic crits because I want to max out the crits in this deck. You have multiple attacks, high powered, you need crits to match that. 1 copy of the Brandt-Gate OT because of how cracked it is. 3 Ameliorate connectors or draw triggers. Now, to quickly discuss this, I think that draws are needed for this deck. I've seen some people play fronts, but from my experience with Rotovisor, you're not committing a lot of cards in the early game because you need the damage to activate your Vanguard's effect, so you want them to hit you, and your opponent will just start swinging to rear guards to deny you that once they see what you're playing. And hitting a draw just feels better defensively anyway because of the amount of cards you commit to the board for cost, and that you play for obviously other effects and defending. I just feel like draws were better, and the numbers are really good anyway. We have Advent Robust, Compassionate Mechanic, Havable Zone to turn our grade 2s into boosters. It's not hard to make good numbers in this deck. Therefore, I felt like fronts were kind of overkill. I understand that you want the shield value and maybe like the additional 10k buff to guarantee your chances of those attacks hitting. But in my personal opinion, draw triggers are just as good as fronts in this deck because you need to see pieces, you need a way of keeping your hand up defensively speaking, and there are certain resource management pieces you need to get prior to the arenas. And outside of the arenas being searched out, you can also potentially draw into them, which might be helpful thanks to these cards. And finally, I play 4 generic heals. Obviously, play the heals that best suit you and your playstyle and whatever going on in the current meta. Now for Mulligan. Mulligan is one of the most important things you can do for a deck like this that is focused on setup for the late game. There are 2 to 3 really important key cards I think you need to have in your opening hand just to make sure that by the time that you get to turn 3 or your first grade 3 turn, you are in the best position possible to protect yourself going into the following turn, have the resources and the card advantage needed to keep the game going. Now, one of the first cards you definitely want to see in your opening hand is obviously our Ride Cycler. It's very important that we keep enough cards in our hand available to us to make sure that we can block attacks, keep our damage low up until we get to turn 3, because we don't want to have more than 2 to 3 damage on our first grade 3 turn. Outside of using Rotovisor's skill to get the multiple attack restam, we need to see other pieces that we won't have really live until we get those second and third arena active, as well as other card and effects that may not be active for us to draw cards. Or if we are in a situation where we have constricted counterblast, you want to make sure that you at least have things you can do outside of just your Vanguard's effect, and drawing into those pieces off of these cards is really important. The next card you want to have in your mulligan is a copy of an arena. This deck needs its 3 arenas minimum to unleash its full power on turn 4 or more. You have to Persona Ride and have your 3 units on turn 4, otherwise you will not be able to make the gigantic explosive play that's needed to make that huge comeback towards that period in the game. Your ride line does offer you the chance to get 2 of your arenas. While the grade 1 guarantees you 1, the grade 2 does not guarantee you another. Therefore, it's not that bad to have 1 arena already in your hand. Just in case one of them goes to the damage zone or something of that nature, you'll have 1 guaranteed way through your ride line, 1 in your hand to make sure you have 2 at least, and then the grade 2 may or may not provide you with another one. The next card you want to see in your opening hand is definitely Aberrant Robust. Now, Aberrant Robust, I will say this, I think that if you're going first, it might be a really good card to see. Having Aberrant Robust to guarantee you that third search for your other arena is fantastic. Like I stated, it's really important that we do see these certain arena pieces in set in our order zone as fast as possible. It's also a fantastic offensive piece to have for your 5 attack play at the beginning, because you'll have triggers and effects and boosters to obviously make your Aberrant Robust attack a lot scarier. And while on that note, another card to have that's fantastic is Compassionate Mechanic. This is going to be another draw card that you have going into your first Rotovisor turn. You'll have at least 1 or 2 arenas set up already for your Vanguard, and then having Compassionate Mechanic to help you draw cards, give power, make your numbers a lot better going first is going to be extremely important. Now, to give you an idea of how this deck operates, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 combo test hands to get a good flow of how it works in battle. Starting off with our first hand here, we got 2 Robust, our OT, and Compassionate Mechanic. Not bad whatsoever. I'm going to hold on to an Arena, I'm going to hold on to a Compassionate, and in this case, I will get rid of these. I'm only getting rid of them because I already have so many and they won't do anything right now, and assuming that I'm going first, that might be the better play to have. Now, idealistically speaking, this deck does want to go first, so for the sake of this test hand, we will be going first. We're going to start off our turn by drawing. We have Aberrant Robust here and Persona Ride. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. Since we already have a copy of the arena in our hand, we're obviously not going to throw this away. We already have the Rotovisor in our hand and a copy of Aberrant Robust. So I want to make sure that depending on what my matchup is, I'll choose a discard between these 2, which will be the Compassionate and the Aberrant Robust. I already have 3 cards in my hand that I cannot block with, so for that particular reason, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the Robust now, and then ride up to our E-Road Rotovisor, and then pass turn. The opponent will attack us, we'll take a point of damage, it's a critical trigger, and then we'll start our turn. We'll go ahead and we're going to get 3 energy, and in this deck you definitely want to pay attention to how you're using your energy because it's such important to our game plan. We'll draw for turn. Let's see what we get. We get our Elementaria Sanctitude. That's pretty good actually. We'll go ahead and, since we don't have any Counterblast cards, I do want some boosters for next turn though. We will get rid of one of our Compassionate Mechanics because we have another one, and we will ride into our Wasir Rotovisor. the grade 1 will kick in. We'll be able to search our deck out for an arena, and we're doing pretty good so far because now we have 2 arenas to set up with. Alright, we'll go ahead and put in our arena, and then if you want to, you can go ahead and call the booster behind your Vanguard because your order will be live now, so you can take advantage of that. So we'll have Blob Mine boost our Vanguard's attack, we'll rest it, and then we're going to go for the energy charge effect, obviously because we haven't used any counterblast yet, so we can boost our energy up. So we'll attack, drive check, it's a Blob Mine, not bad whatsoever. And then assuming the attack hit, because they want the CB to do something of their own, we'll go ahead and gain 2 energy. The opponent will then take their turn, we'll take a point of damage here, it's Laufin, and then we get to start our turn. So then we'll go ahead, we will stand our units, draw for turn, it's a critical trigger. I will actually get rid of the critical here, and then ride into our Vanguard Rotovisor. Now we're going to check top 7 from the grade 2. 7 cards here. Let's see what we get. We have 2 arenas, which is perfect. So we'll go ahead and we'll take our final copy of the arena, and then we will start our turn. Don't forget your order is standing, and our turn has started, so we have 3 more energy. We'll go ahead and play the second arena. I'm going to call out Compassionate here, and I'm going to call out Blob Mine here. Not the best hand. I probably may or may not have regretted keeping the Aberrant Robust, but at the beginning it does depend upon your matchup. If I'm playing against a slower deck, maybe keeping the Aberrant Robust was better, but if I'm not, then in that case it wouldn't have been. So starting off for our attack patterns, we're going to have to swing with Compassionate first. She does have a 5k buff because we have 2 of our orders set up. We then have to activate our order for the on-hit effect. Then her effect will apply. Assuming they block this attack because it is only a 15k attack, we'll go ahead and get rid of 3 of our energy. We'll give 5,000 power to Blob Mine, and we get to draw a card. Now Blob Mine will swing at something. We're not going to use the order for this because this is an easy block for them. And then our Vanguard will attack as well. We'll go ahead and rest our order for this, for our Vanguard's attack. And then the end of battle effect will apply. First check, it's an arena. Second check, perfect guard. Alright, Rotovisor's effect will then apply. We'll counterblast 2. We draw a card. We restand these 2. And then we'll go ahead and attack our opponent. The opponent will then take their turn. They're on their grade 3 turn here, so I do expect to take a little bit more damage. So obviously, defense-wise, I probably will have to, assuming that they're going to be able to do like, let's say 5 attacks is the average right now, right? They'll probably knock out one of our rear guards if they have to. They'll go ahead, swing at our Vanguard. It's a critical trigger. We'll give everything to Van. I will go ahead and perfect guard the Vanguard attack. They already saw it from the prior turn. I already have my 3 arenas needed, so I'll just go ahead and get rid of this so that this way I can hold on to my Persona Rides, block the Vanguard attack, lost 1 attack, and then we'll take this. It's another critical trigger. Our Vanguard's really big right now, so assuming that they probably cannot hit it, well, they'll swing your other rear guard. That's perfectly fine. Alright, we'll go ahead, we'll start our turn. We will stand and draw. We got Aberrant Robust. Alright, we will go ahead and increase our energy up by 3, and then we shall Persona Ride into ourself, draw a card. We got Havable Zone. This is actually really good for us. We're going to go ahead and then call out our Havable Zone. Havable Zone's effect will then kick in. We'll counterblast 1 because it is a Persona Ride turn. I'm going to search my deck out for a copy of the grade 2 Refablishment dock. I already have a copy of the other arena in my hand, and thanks to Havable Zone's effect, I can now play both of these set orders and take full advantage of them. Well, I'm going to play Refablishment dock first. Havable Zone makes this free, so I get to draw another card. This time it is a draw trigger. Not the best card to have, but it is what it is. The next thing I'm going to do is obviously set my other arena, and then finally I will call out Aberrant Robust. I do think that all 4 copies of my set order are out, so I will not use the search effect. And then, because I can, I'll go ahead and call out my Synthetica. I'm going to call out Synthetica behind Havable Zone. Let's see here. I will use the effect just to get my arena back. I'll give up these 2. Take this to hand. I don't have any energy skills, so what I will do is I will give up my 7 energy here. 3, 6, 7. So we'll give up 7 energy. It's perfectly fine. None of my cards do that. I draw another card, but ironically I draw into Compassionate. So I made a small fender bender here. Don't be like me. What I really should have done was after the search effect, I'll do all of that, but then I will still hold on to this, do my 7, draw a card. I am going to move a copy of my Havable Zone back. I'll call Compassionate and call Synthetica here. I still get back the order to my hand, but this time my battle formation is a lot stronger. Now everything is set up and in place, so there's a lot of things happening here before we start. First off, our Compassionate mechanic gains 5k because we have 2 orders. Our Vanguard's giving 5k to the front row, and then we have Persona benefits, so they're 10k to the front row. So right now, everything with Persona and the effects has plus 15k to the front row. This has 5k to herself, and this has 10k to himself. So I do want to try to get the energy skill off as soon as possible. I'm going to swing with Abbott Robust, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my order. Abbott Robust is swinging at 33k at our opponent because it has 23 from its own skill, 10k from Persona, 33, a 5k from the Vanguard, so we're at 38k. Now, a good player will see what we're trying to do to get the energy to activate Compassionate mechanic, but we have 2 different times to use it, so they might go ahead and take or not take this one. It's perfectly fine. Assuming they block it, that is okay. We'll then go ahead and swing with Compassionate mechanic. Compassionate mechanic now has 10k from Persona, 5k from herself, and 5k from Glanzel Rotovisor. On this attack, I will go ahead and use this because if this attack hits, I will have the energy first, then the cost use her skill. So we'll go ahead and use that, assuming that they go ahead and block that one as well. That is perfectly fine. And actually, because I have 3 card restand, I'll even throw in the Havable Zone to make the number better. We'll then go ahead and swing with my Vanguard and use this. So we can go ahead and get that off. The opponent will probably perfect guard this one, which is fine. We'll do our Twin Drive. First check, critical trigger, everything to robust. Second check, Blob Mine. All of those will then be applied. We'll use the effect of Blob Mine to go to Soul. We'll countercharge 1. Then we'll counterblast 2. We'll restand these 3, and then we apply additional 5,000 power to everything that restood. We'll do the same thing once more. We'll go ahead and swing with our Compassionate mechanic. Then we'll swing with this. They all have 5k buffs on top of the power that they had prior and triggers, and that's pretty much the flow of the Vanguard turn. I was planning on doing a second test hand, but this went on longer than I thought, so I'll just go ahead and end it here. If you guys want like a test hand video, let me know down in the comment section below for Rotovisor, as I definitely do think that I want to show you guys an idea of how this deck works, more turn orders, and different situations that apply to our battle tactics. However, that concludes this video, guys. Thank you so much for staying tuned throughout the entirety of it, and let me know how you feel about me adding the Mulligan and test hand segments to my videos. It is going to make the content a little bit longer, but I feel like when you guys have this sort of stuff out there, you get an understanding of how the deck works, and you have the opportunity to see more cards and effects, be live, active, and get the breakdown of why I do certain things and play certain cards in the deck for the deck profile. Definitely want to know your guys' thoughts about that, but with that being said, I'll catch you later. Peace.